I wanted to challenge myself using a new Xanthorrhea grass tree spindle, which was a much thicker spindle than I'd ever used before. My hands were still pretty hammered from the past week, so my backup challenge, if that didn't work, was to use a thinner spindle and, if an ember was created, try and get a pure stringy bark nest to flame again, but using only my breath. I set about preparing the baseboard with a larger groove and notch, burnt the spindle into the board, made another stringy bark nest, started getting a feel for the Xanthorrhea spindle, and was getting some nice dust build-up and smoke, but the blisters on my hand were painful and awkward, and the spindle once again crept too close to the edge of the baseboard. Aside from my hands being too sore to skillfully orchestrate the thicker spindle, I reckon I need to set my initial grooves further back on the baseboard, just a touch, and work the spindle so that it sets the groove in a way that it doesn't end up creeping towards the edge of said baseboard. I was working up a sweat and I wanted to try and reset the Xanthorrhea groove, so I was using my knife to try and carve out an area so the spindle would sit and stay further back. I had to use an awkward hand position and I reckon I could have got it to work, but the blisters were a deterrent. I wasn't finished though and still wanted to challenge myself. I eventually swapped to a thinner spindle, which wasn't so brutal on my hands, but it was still interesting to try and figure out how to use my hands in a way to work around the blisters. Despite the awkward hand technique, I could maintain a consistency, speed and pressure to coax out an ember and eventually gently breathe life into the ember nest combo.